you're listening to Jesus Christ That's Funny, the podcast with Pastor Dwayne Black and comedian Ethan Moore about theology, life, and comedy. We broadcast every week from the Sanctuary Church in Fort Lauderdale. And now, it's Jesus Christ That's Funny with Pastor Dwayne and Ethan Moore. Hi there, Pastor Dwayne. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. My name is Ethan Moore. I'm here with Pastor Dwayne Black at the Sanctuary Church in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes.
Good to be here once again.
In the sanctum, yes.
The Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yes.
Or the session room.
That's good.
The Holy of Holies. I mean, you know, next door there's a nursery with children playing. I don't think in the ancient Jewish temple that was probably the case.
No, and they're actually from the Caribbean islands, so they've got some really great food over there, which smells delicious.
Are they eating jerk chicken or something over there?
You know, it looks like that, and then some fish or something that's going on. It's all really good looking food.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you were saying, well, I'll tell the children to be quiet, and I was like, well, you know, if the little bit of the laughter of children intrudes into our podcast, it's really not an intrusion.
No, it'd be really
Who's going to
nice.
quibble with the laughter of children, right?
No one is. No.
I mean, the podcast is called Jesus Christ That's Funny, after all.
That's right.
Jesus liked children, and it's supposed to be funny. So
let the children come unto me. Yes. Big thing. Big deal at that moment in that time.
what does that mean?
At that time in that place, children weren't thought of. In fact, during the Roman civilization, they used to take children, and if you were the father, and your wife told you, "I'm going to give birth," the father could easily say, "Expose the child," meaning that when you give birth to the child, take it out and put it on a large group of other children that are dying, that there was nothing thought about leaving a child to die.
Oh, expose it like to the elements, just,
Right.
yeah.
And they would just leave it and let it die. And there was nothing thought bad about it at that point. So the idea of a rabbi saying, "Let the children come unto me," that was like massive.
Well, they had issues with, I guess, the availability of resources and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right.
We can't afford this child. Take
Right.
it out. Yeah. And until it was a certain age where they could actually do something, they didn't think that it really had a spirit or a soul.
Well, I've heard that children should be seen and not heard, but that's taking it a bridge too far, I think. I don't know.
Yes, it is.
There are some kids, though. I don't know. Maybe who. No. I was actually hanging out with... I was at the Kava Bar last night, which is the Kava Bar, Wanakava, where I do comedy shows on Monday nights, and I record the other podcast, Sex on Kava, from there every Saturday. And that's kind of a cool little hangout spot. And I go there a lot of nights. It's really near my house. And I was there with the owner, Rich Kennedy. And he's kind of created this little space in there where kind of everyone's welcome,
Right,
which is really cool. And but because it's a Kava bar, so they don't serve booze or anything like that.
Right.
So literally, you can come in if you're like 14, 15, 16, 17. You know, there's these young people that come in there a lot of times.
That's really cool. That's really neat. Yeah.
It is cool, but the type of young people that would be allowed through their parents not caring or what they're just sort of rebelling, it means it's a certain type of kid that comes in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are not the more or less not the honor roll type of, just really listening to mom and dad kind of students, you know. But they still need love, and they need a place to go. And so Rich, he's a really nice guy. I joke that he should be called Father Flanagan. It's like Father Flanagan's home for wayward boys and girls, you know.
And it gives them a safe place to go. That's really pretty cool.
It is cool. But some of these kids, they just have... There's a couple of the girls, especially, who have really sharp tongues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're 16, and ooh, that's going to be rough for you. Very, very pretty 16-year-old girl with a sharp tongue and a big chip on her shoulder.
Yeah, that's going to be rough.
It's going to be a rough road. I mean, you're going to need a lot of luck for that not to turn out bad.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm like, you should. I was joking with Rich, and he's like, yeah, back in the day, if you said something like that, you'd get a smack. Not, and whoever gave you the smack would call your parents up and say, "Hey, I just hit your kid." She was acting like a real asshole. So.
And they would have gone, "I'm glad you did that. Thank you."
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mr. Kennedy. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Wait till she comes home.
If I see your kid, I'll keep him in line too. And I'm not condoning violence towards children, but
actually, I think you work. And
I was actually. No, but I guess I'm just saying that there's a little bit of I don't know. If a kid has no direction at all, from authority figures, it seems like sometimes it can turn out really badly.
Yeah.
I don't think that direction should come in this form of violence. It should be in the form of good examples. But
we used to have a youth program that
it takes a village. That's kind of what. No, I don't know.
I like your bumper sticker. I saw it. Okay.
Yeah, right.
That's good. We had a youth group that we had kids. I mean, they would skateboard 7-8 miles to the youth program, and they were all kids that they were edgy, piercings, the whole thing, and all they really wanted was a place that they could talk, and a place that they knew that they were loved no matter what, and that was really good. We were like the first ones when somebody got arrested for stealing, some shoplifting or something like that. We were the first ones that got a phone call from them.
Right.
Pastor Dwayne, I need you. I'm in trouble. And you were able to go down and at least help them, walk through the stuff with them.
Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder, I don't know where we're going with this, but let's just go with it. It's free association tonight on Jesus Christ, that's funny. I heard someone say the other day, she was talking about, she had a daughter who had a drug problem, and she said now she's learned, she doesn't take calls from treatment centers or jails. So in other words, what she's saying is that if she gets a phone call from her daughter and saying, bail me out of jail, or, I'm in rehab or whatever, then she's not going to respond to that because it's tough love.
Tough love, yeah.
And I guess to me, I didn't say this to her because, she's on her own path or whatever. But for me, what I would wonder about that, and I don't have kids, so what can I really say? But my sense of it is, if someone's reaching out to me, even if they've reached out to me time and time again, I might not send you money.
Mm-hmm.
But I might not send you the bail money to get out if I feel like, maybe this is where you need to be, or where you brought yourself, and maybe I can't. Maybe it's throwing good money after bad, or maybe I'm helping you dig yourself a deeper hole with some kind of codependent issue. So maybe I'm not going to send you something material if that seems to be the situation. But I feel like I would still want to just be there and say I can offer you, love and comfort, and when you need help, reach out when you're really ready, and I'll try to be here for you.
Yeah. That's one of the things so crazy because I have had kids.
You're a father.
Yeah. And
how many kids do you have? 2
children.
How old are they?
My daughter Hillary is 37, and my son is 29.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they, but raising them was pretty tough at times. We got. My daughter, we had to go through this kind of tough love thing with, and it got pretty bad. And there was an issue when she was about 14 or 15. We had no idea what had happened. Something just went south, and all of our relationship went south. And it became just a horrible time. And it took counseling, it took some time. And then we found out that she had been raped, and she didn't want to tell us.
Wow.
And all of this reacting out was because she just didn't know what to do with all the pain and everything that was going on. And so that issue stole probably a good 10 years of her life, because it just doesn't go away easily. So raising a kid you just never know. And you're at one time thinking, what's wrong with this child? What's going on?
Right.
And then you suddenly find out, wow, I need to be there for her and love her.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's hard. It's like, that thing about how when you see someone, when someone cuts you off on the freeway, you know, it's like, well, it's easy to say, hey, screw that guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm important, you know, but then you don't know what's going on
Right.
with him. Right. It's that thing where it's like, well, maybe he's like rushing to the hospital because his mother's dying or something like that.
Well, yeah, and that.
Right. And then you think it's a perfect stranger and you should have that attitude. Right.
Right.
But then when it's someone, you're like, well, I know my daughter. You know, I know what she's going through. But then you find out that maybe you really don't. And so that's, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing there. It's a difficult thing, I guess.
Yeah, you miss it. You for some reason it just doesn't add up.
It's too close. It's a forest for the trees thing almost, right? You're just too close.
And by the time you make, you know, even I'll tell you, even in the conversation in the counseling office when she finally said that, you know, it was like I can relive that very moment 1,000 times because it was just I never saw that coming, never knew, never was on my radar that was the situation.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then you start trying to piece everything together, and you're going, that's why she did this, and that's why she responds this way, and that's why she's doing it, and that's why she's hanging out with these people, and it's like, okay, now I see it.
Yeah. How's she doing now?
She's doing great. She's doing great. She ended up getting her life together, and everything was good. She ended up general manager at Starbucks for a long time, and then she did that in North Carolina, and now she's raising 2 beautiful little girls. Because I did curse her one time. I said, "Someday you're going to have 2 girls like you."
Oh, my mom
boom! It happened.
gave me that curse too. Actually,
it happened.
I think that's like
works.
a secret handshake with parents. They all get together, and this is what you say.
But you know, it does happen, and all of a sudden
Right.
you're going like, "Oh my gosh!"
Right.
Yeah.
I was a little bit of a hellion. I think.
bet you were. You have that wild look in your eyes.
Yeah, I definitely caused some grief for my mom.
What year was that you started? Like
about the age of, actually I know exactly when it was. It was the age of 16. I was a straight A student
right.
up until that, and I was until 9th grade. So in 9th grade, I went to like ultra Christian school up through middle school, private school, Christian school. But then my parents were like, we're lower middle class. We can't afford this. We have 2 more kids younger than Ethan. So we can't afford to send them to Christian school. So they put us in public school. So I went to public school for 9th grade, Clearwater High. And then after 1 year, I started to make friends, and it was I liked it better than the Christian school,
right.
actually. And then I hit puberty really hard, probably around the summer of between 9th and 10th grade. And then I discovered that, so I was getting straight A's and working really hard to get straight A's.
Right.
And I discovered that I could work about 20% of that and get A's and B's and smoke pot and chase girls. So I started chasing girls and smoking weed. And I got A's and B's. I got 3.5, you know, or 3.6, something like that. So I had a good GPA. As long as I kept my GPA up, they kind of left me alone.
Yeah.
But once I started sneaking girls through the bedroom window at night, and or I would do that when they would go to a Wednesday night church service.
And you would
then I'd call the girl and say, "Hey,
come on,
everyone's gone. Come over." Yeah. And my parents got mad because I was not supposed to be, you know, fornicating.
I was gonna say. Did they actually say that to you? You're not supposed to be fornicating.
It was. I don't know if they threw that word at me, but it was definitely in the air. You know, with the fundamentalism. Yeah.
That had to have been beautiful. So they caught you?
My brother caught me. We shared a bedroom, but he wasn't. He didn't snitch me out or anything. But yeah, they figured it out. Yeah. Somehow I can't remember exactly.
Did your brother? What's that underneath your sheet? What is that?
Right.
Yeah.
I would be like, Elliot, leave. He's like, this is my bedroom.
Yeah. Not right now. It isn't okay.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know. I gave them some grief, definitely. Not just with that. Then eventually I just started staying out all night and partying, you know, by the time I got to my senior year. So, and then when I went to college, I left for college at 17. And I remember my dad said to me when he dropped me off at the dorm, he said, it's a good thing you're moving out, because if you weren't, we'd be kicking you out.
Well, when did you start comedy? Because you've got this kind of religious,
I started comedy last year.
Yeah?
I mean, like stand-up comedy?
Yeah,
like last year.
How did you get the nerve to do that?
I always wanted to do it. At some level. And I thought about it a lot over the years. And I also wanted to do radio. Those are the two things I thought about all the time. But I was actually, what happened was I liked studying religion, and I really had looked up to my teachers, my professors.
Yeah.
And then I just was studying and learning for so long, and I had to get a real job, and I was like, I hate this job. I like the studying part.
Right.
So I knew how to be a student and how to study, and so then when I finished that, I within a year of finishing grad school, I had a job offer and to teach. So I decided to teach college.
Wow.
And so then it was like, well, I made money doing that, so I should definitely do this. And then I made way more money when I switched to administration. And then I was living in Southeast Asia by then. But
the transition between stand-up comedy, teaching and stand-up comedy are such a close...
Well, that's interesting. I think that the difference is that, and I actually had this insight last night as I was talking to someone. So they're both public speaking.
Right.
But they're very different, because when you're doing stand-up, when you're a teacher, you have all the power and the authority in the room. Everyone has to listen to you.
Right.
When you're a stand-up comedian, the audience has all the power. It's upon, or I'll put it this way, it's incumbent upon you to bring things together, to bring it into an experience for everyone. And when you're a comedian, right? You have to draw people in and get them to have a good experience. That's your job.
Right.
On the other hand, when you're teaching, it's the students have the job. They have to listen. It's incumbent upon them to pay attention and listen, so that they can benefit and then get a good grade or whatever you're supposed to do in college. Learn.
Right.
So I think the direction of power is flipped.
I never thought of it that way.
So stand-up comedy, you have to be you have to be more humble or something like that. It teaches humility, I think.
So have you ever walked out and seen a crowd and gone, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get my humor.
I would, yeah, of course. That's the crowd that's like that, though, for me, is just the crowd that's not paying attention.
Right.
That's the tough thing, because then it's like, well, they're not going to get anyone's humor. They're not really here for that. And then you need some really bombastic stuff that's going to grab their attention and pull them in.
So what do you do? Because you have this religious edge to your thinking. Does that ever enter into your comedy? Because I believe...
Oh, yeah.
I believe that I flew over to San Francisco and in a line going forever and ever and ever and ever to get my car, I stood right next to a stand-up comic, and he and I talked for a while. And we figured that we both do the same thing. We're both searching for truths, pastor, comic, searching for truth in some manner, some way. And somebody like you who has this ability to pull all of these things in and kind of pull them together, the idea of religion and the search for the divine, and at the same time funny. You've got to have one really great joke.
Well, the one joke about all reality that brings it all together, right? It's sex. That's the answer. No, I don't. I think that what you just said really brings something to mind, which I was actually thinking about talking about anyway. So we've kind of brought it back around. I heard Norm Macdonald, who I've referenced before. He's my stand-up comic hero.
Yep.
And I heard him on a podcast talking about how his influences in comedy are not other comedians so much as writers, like Russian literature. He said so Tolstoy, things like that. And he said the reason is because they've already, comedians will want to think, I thought of this joke, I thought of this funny thought. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and read something written 300 years ago, and it's like, these guys I've had it figured out. And then you go back and read something written, 2,000 years ago, and it's like, oh, this is about the same stuff. Like,
Right.
oh, I don't, I woke up this morning and maybe I don't love my wife anymore. I don't know if my kids care about me. Just stuff like that. They just worry about, am I dying of some illness? It's just things that people have always worried about, I guess.
Right.
And probably will always worry about. So they've got it all figured out. And so what he says is what he learned, or what he's discovered, is that the deepest, most profound thoughts are also the funniest thoughts. So I think that's interesting.
Say that again. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, so what you need to know about comedy is actually the same lesson that you learn from philosophy or great literature, which is that the deepest and most profound thoughts are also the funniest thoughts.
Yeah.
That's
really brilliant.
It seems right. I'm not sure. It just sounds right. I don't know. It sounds
I'm
very
buying
profound.
it. I'm buying it.
I buy it too. I buy it too. And so I actually have taken it in terms of in my my mission, or whatever you want to look at it as, my calling in comedy right now, I think, is to dig into like what I think are the deep, profound thoughts for me, or the things that other people think and don't want to talk about, which really get to our fears, or fears. Let's say fears, or fears or joys, or whatever, as human beings, the strong emotions that we feel. So, like, for example, I have a joke right now. I'm not afraid of many things in life, but there is one thing I'm afraid of, and that thing is marriage. And I think the main reason I'm afraid of marriage is that I'm afraid that I'll get married and then I'll meet someone better. Like hotter, or I don't know, just better. And I haven't actually figured out where that joke goes, but that's, like, to me, that's a thought that people have.
Yeah.
A thought that I've had, but something that people don't want to say out loud.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my job, is to say those thoughts out loud and then dig into why, and then try to transcend the maybe shallowness contained in that thought, if it is shallow.
Yeah.
Discover whether it really is shallow or a moral failing. And if it is, then try to transcend it. Maybe transcend it with humor.
You're right. I think you're right. I think there are some things that we're so afraid to talk about. We're so afraid to say something that, and there are fears that probably all of us have. And so comedy can tread on those, and we can all laugh at them together, sometimes nervously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when I set that joke up, which is really just a setup right now.
Yeah. I
mean, I've tried to have some comic timing there, the way I say it, and make it kind of funny. So it kind of sounds like there's punchlines in there, but there aren't really, and I have a couple different ways I've tried to make it say things after that are funny, but I haven't figured it out yet, like where I want to take that joke. But the reason that I know that it's an area that I need to work on is because every time I say that, people listen.
Right.
People look up, stop drinking their drink, look nervously at their significant other next to them, and so it touches on something that a lot of people feel, and I'd like to figure out where to take it as a joke.
Well, part of the idea is that you could probably, if you married a lesbian, then you could probably...
I'm listening.
Then you could probably say to her, "Isn't she good looking?" And she would say, "Oh yeah," and it would be okay.
Right.
I'm just thinking about that. I'm just thinking that maybe that's.
Well, that's true. It's also like you feel like if you can be really honest, with your significant other, like total honesty, like, hey, I'd really like to cheat on you, and I just feel so comfortable that I can tell you that, that we can share that knowledge, like, how can you really be that open, because like that's the other thing, is that we all have thoughts,
right?
Like sometimes you're driving on the freeway and you're like, what if I'm on this I-95 Express and I'm like, what am I, like half a mile above everything, and then just me up here, I could just drive off the edge. I wonder what happened. Like you have like crazy thoughts, and like I'm not going to do that, but
I don't have those.
You never?
Thoughts.
Oh, just me.
Yeah, I'm worried about you now, man.
Just me. Or
never had that.
Never thought. That's the very well-adjusted Pastor Dwayne Black on the mic. No, I don't know. I think that we all have thoughts about things we know we shouldn't do, and I think there's also a kind of a Zen Buddhist thing there too, where it's like, well, when you have a thought that is going to lead you to a negative action. You just sit on the side of the riverbank and watch the thoughts float by for a while. You don't have to act on your thoughts. They're just thoughts.
No.
Sometimes things just bubble up. And, that's something I learned in the last couple of years, is that I don't have to act on every thought or impulse. That's important, to know that sometimes something's just a thought.
And that's okay.
It's okay to have a thought like that. It's absolutely okay to have a thought like that. You can't not be okay.
Right.
If you start beating yourself up for, your thoughts, then you're going to be in trouble, and you're going to have a lot more negative thoughts, I think.
And what kind of suppress? Yeah, I mean, you start suppressing those things,
right,
and not acknowledging them, saying, "I'm having these,"
It's better to return to that theme that we talked about last week of good practice. So if you find yourself having a lot of thoughts like that to the point where they're troubling you, or what I find is helpful is to dig a little bit deeper into things like service and trying to get outside yourself and help someone else, and then you find that you focus less on those things, So then you can't control the thoughts, but you can control your actions. So if you have a lot of negative thoughts, just try to help someone else, and then you'll feel better.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and we there are like fragments of things. Our imagination plays so much of a part of this whole thing. Is that sometimes we see something that goes on, and okay, so like I'm talking to you, and all of a sudden I think, well, what was that gesture? What did he mean by that? And
right.
So little fragments, I can start thinking, well, that he's trying to tell me this, and that's part of. I mean, I think that's part of the issue. One of the things that I love about what Jesus talks about is this idea that you're supposed to go to a person, a brother and sister, and talk directly to them, not like go on Facebook and unfriend them, but like I'm supposed to go to you personally and just say, hey, man, I don't know what's going on, but I'm concerned that there's something between us that's not good, and I love you deeply enough that I want you. I want to work this out, And so if we start doing that, what happens is, on one level, we start becoming a tighter, friendship. Secondly, we start understanding each other. We take out any problem. Oh no, that's not what I meant by that. No. That was just an email I sent back fast.
Right.
And it creates a community of people that care about each other and don't gossip and don't, do all those things that just create tension.
Yeah, I think it's also, but those people are still going to have thoughts.
They are
about doing things, about gossiping or about whatever, and then sometimes they're going to act on it, sometimes not. But, it's not wrong to have the thought, is what I would say. So once again, the focus is, first of all, if I have a negative thought about you,
right,
then you just kind of let it go.
What do you mean by that? You did your eyebrows. You did that with your eyebrows. What was it? What did you mean by that?
I was just talking about all the negative thoughts I have about you all the time. No, come on, Pastor. Perrier is warm. You offered me here. What kind of studio is this? Didn't you read the rider in my contract? No. If you have a negative thought, if I have a negative thought about you, say just for example,
right.
Then, I think my first thing is, I'll just let it go and see if it's, you know what I mean. But then if I am compelled for whatever reason to act on that thought, then I do something negative. Then now it's the time for communication.
Right.
Like you're saying. But I wonder, so this is back to what I said about, let's say you're talking to your significant other, and do you really want to be that honest? Yeah, I was just having a thought about cheating on you. I mean, maybe not. Maybe sometimes you just let your thoughts flow by,
Right.
If it's something that, but it's that thing where but we have that desire to be completely understood.
Right.
So that's another thing too, where for me at least, it's the question of, am I just being self-indulgent by really wanting to share absolutely everything with this person,
Right.
or wanting to be with someone who that's actually possible with? Because I don't think that is really possible. I know there's a limit to it, but it is certainly very gratifying when you actually feel comfortable enough with another person to be able to share even those kinds of thoughts that are taboo.
Well, how would you be in receiving that same thing? You say to your wife, I've had these thoughts about having an affair, and she said, isn't that amazing? So have I.
Right.
I mean, then where are you?
Well, that's the problem. Is I think that yeah, of course, once you vocalize a thought like that, it's going to be almost certainly it's going to be damaging.
It has a life now.
It has a life, and now you actually have to confront it, So there's a fine line there between, kind of real and good communication about things that actually matter versus just being self-indulgent and, saying whatever comes into your mind, even though it's hurtful.
Because it may be deeper than that. It may be that you guys have not had, it's 6 years into your marriage and things have softened up. The passion has gone.
Is that a metaphor, or are things literally soft here? I think they have medication for that now.
I thought you just let that go by. And so maybe that you need to spark that back up. So maybe it's, we need to go out more. We need to, we need to spend time together.
I like the fire metaphor this time.
Right.
It's better than the soft. Or worse, I can't tell.
The ahava, raya, and dode.
Oh, right. These are the Hebrew words for love.
Yeah. Those are good words.
We need to rekindle all three flames.
Yes.
Of the three.
Right. Each flame is a different thing. Ahava is usually friendship, deep friendship. Like you meet somebody and you go, "Oh, this person is so great. I love her." And then raya is that I can't imagine being anywhere except with this person. They are just that. And then dode is it's a rocking motion, and that's probably all I need to say.
Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Dwayne Black. He'll be here all week. Those are the three. So you need to have. You need to have all parts of that love. Erotic intensity and friendship and
right. And this kind of spiritual thing that you are I can tell you anything.
Right. Openness or something like that. Communication.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. Absolutely. In terms of all the failed relationships I've had.
And so, do you have any relationships right now?
No, not. I mean, I'm not in a relationship.
Oh, okay.
Dating a little here and there. But,
and your email is what?
Well, you can email me at Pastor Black at Pastor Dwayne Black at what's the name of this podcast? Jesus Christ That's Funny.
Yes,
is what it's called. And you can email us at jesuschristthat'sfunny@gmail.com. And just send those pics. You can mark Ethan Moore in the subject line. Pastor Dwayne Black is taken.
That's right. But I will do your wedding if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
That'll be my pleasure. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
How do I do a wedding?
Yeah. Do you have a book from the Presbytery of Florida or something?
No, actually I don't. I design my own wedding service that probably reaches towards a lot more spiritual sides and edges, and trying to do something that represents you and the person you're going to marry and you love and you care for. And what does that really mean? And what does that look like?
Sounds dangerous.
It is.
So you're an apostate, is what you're saying, yes. Right? You're
right.
Just totally off the beam. The Presbytery is
right.
We're not.
We don't know what he's doing, but it's okay.
Right. I like that. I like their laissez-faire attitude here, Presbyterian Church. That's good. Okay, so we've got to wrap it up there. I'm not sure where we went with this episode, but it was interesting places. I think
that was good. It was good.
Yeah. So all right, well, contact us, and we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Jesus Christ That's Funny. And
Ethan, you did a great job, man. That's beautiful. Fantastic. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Pastor.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you next time on Jesus Christ That's Funny. God bless.